Hey guys, Ollie here from Local Knowledge, and today I want to show you how I travel with fishing rods. Travel fishing is one of my favorite things in life. It's introduced me to new places, new people, new species. If you haven't done any of it, man, I cannot recommend it enough. If you are serious about fishing, you can learn more about your fishery, how fish behave, other species, just by going and visiting somewhere else. It's got more of those fish, bigger of those fish you've never caught before. It is one of the most precious things in life to me. I will travel fish until the day I die. The part I hate about travel fishing is dragging around all the tackle. But when I'm going somewhere, man, I want to be sure I've got good gear. And unless it's a top-notch outfit that I can really trust or a kind of fishing that I'm not geared up for, I'm bringing my own stuff. Just no question. Whenever we do a shoot, Rush is in Florida with the cameraman, so he gets stuck dragging around a bunch of Pelican cases full of crap they're probably never gonna use. I'm the one that has to bring the tackle. So, if we're going, say, to Panama, that means 4 heavy outfits, 4 casting or medium bait outfits, and then a couple popper rods and maybe my jig stick. It's a lot of gear. On average, I'm probably dragging, 8 or 10 rods with me on a shoot. And then when we travel for fun, with the wife, with the boys, whatever, I'm always bringing my own gear with me. And over the years, I've just kind of come up with a system that really works well for me, and hopefully this helps you out. So obviously the most important part of the whole program is the rod tube. This is a Plano jumbo airliner. I had to get on my phone and see if they still make this thing. Fortunately, they do. I have had this for 20 plus years. This thing has been literally to the ends of the world with me. It's carried rods everywhere from Fiji to Australia to South America, Latin America, everywhere. And even on a long car trip to Baja, I will load my rods in here so they don't get destroyed. The best thing about this tube is it's collapsible. A lot of guys will use a PVC pipe or whatever. Number one, with the PVC, you're not gonna get this volume. You usually can't get a piece that's that big that's not gonna get all wonky when you try to carry it. And then the other big advantage to this is the wheels. I can roll this thing through any airport, and believe me, it is awkward as heck. It's 8.5 feet long usually, but it makes it a lot easier. And then I balance out the rods too, so I can use this carry handle to kind of maneuver it through tight spaces. Of course, you're gonna wanna have a good luggage tag on here so your gear does not get lost. This is my fancy Casa Vieja luggage tag. And that's really it as far as the rod tube goes. I'll show you very quickly how to extend it, and that'll be part of the packing process. It's got this captured pin here, and then you can just pull it out to whatever size you need. And how I determine that is I will load the rods into this thing, and then I will pull this up to meet the length that I need. Once I get it where I want it, I will adjust this till I see the closest hole, put the pin back through it, and lock it in place. So this thing will actually pretty much double in size. This is good for a rod. I think I can get a 9-footer in here if I remember offhand, but typically when I travel, I try to keep it at like 8 foot or under just to make it a little bit more manageable. So this is my tube. Here's my rods. Let me show you how I pack for a trip like this. Let's get this monster out of the way. Okay, so when I'm figuring out how to pack my gear and hopefully not stick these in the ceiling fan, I'm typically gonna first of all figure out how many rods I have. In this case, I've got 7. Traveling light for this one. I'm gonna take the rods and basically divide them in half. So 4 on one side, 3 on the other. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of figure out what my longest rod is, and it looks like it's this guy here. It's a jig stick, 8-footer. And then I'm gonna lay these out so that the butt section of the opposing rods is longer than the tip. Why do I do that? Because this provides rigidity. This rigidity here, when they're all snapped together, is gonna make it so that your rods don't snap. That's something we really want. So once I have them laid out like this, I'm just gonna start stacking them on top of each other at the length that I like. Something like that, okay? Now, once I've kind of got these, and this isn't an art form, trust me, it's a cluster every time I do it. Once I get these things kind of laid out where I want, I'm gonna grab these. I don't know what these are called. They're blue twisty tethers. You get them at Home Depot. I buy them in huge packages on Amazon. They're awesome. I use them for lashing things down to the boat. They're rubber, they don't rust, but they've got wire inside of them. I lash stuff to my Can-Am. I lash reels together or rods together. I mean, I use these things everywhere, every shape and size. They're killer, get some. So I've got these shorter blue guys. I'm gonna kind of just start wrapping, and I wanna suck these rods down really tight. You can also use rod sleeves, which I will do a lot of the times, where you put the rod inside of a plastic sleeve, keeps them from rubbing on each other. But for a short jump, you can get away with just using the ties, no sleeves, no nothing. So I'm just gonna wrap these guys up really tight. And I mean, I don't want them to move. I don't want them to rub. And by twisting these, you can actually apply more pressure to the setup, okay? And now I've got my green ones. I'm gonna come over here, kind of wrap this sucker tight. Same thing, use the twister, kind of use my hand and twist the heck out of these. Again, everything nice and tight. What you want to avoid is having like a rod tip kick out the side, get hung up in something, and kaboom, which, trust me from experience, I've done many times. I wanna make sure I capture the rod tips. I don't wanna wrap them up here because I don't want these to be able to move. So I'm gonna come right to about here, almost to the rod tip, get this guy sort of where I want him. I'm gonna squeeze this bundle together with my other hand and start twisting like crazy. Okay, now what I have is a giant bundle of rods that won't move and aren't gonna go anywhere. So got my rods secured. These I'm actually gonna use for some padding. One of the other tricks I like to use for padding is just use your laundry, like dirty clothes, whatever, because you're gonna carry it anyway. So now, got my rods all bundled. I'm gonna take the cap off this big girl here. You can see in the tip of this, there's foam. That foam gives you some cushion so your rod tips don't break off, but we don't have to worry about that because we've got big sturdy rod butts on either end of our package that we've just created. This thing's so old, it's actually worn through. Man, this thing has served me well. Okay, now that I've got it all laid out like this, and a lot of times this is me and the wife the night before I pack, she's helping me with this. I'll try to do it solo. Gonna start feeding these guys into here. And like I was saying, I always want the heavier side going in the tube first. That way, when I go to pick this thing up, if one end's gonna drag, it's gonna be the side with the wheels. And sometimes I gotta repack it because I didn't get it quite right. Okay, so now you notice I've got a little bit of rod butt sticking out of this guy, okay? You want a little sticking out. I'm guessing that's too much, but because you have that cushion, you can kind of wedge it, and it's actually not bad. I think I can get this sucker to seal. Okay, so that is enough to get it to seal. So now what I'm gonna do is just give myself a little bit more cushion. I'll kind of take these are just towels. I'm taking a beach towel with me or an extra hoodie. A lot of times I'll just cram that stuff in here, and that's gonna just give it a little bit of insulation. You can kind of hear nothing's rattling around. You can throw way more stuff in there. The other thing I'll use, a lot of times I take t-shirts to give away wherever we go. I'll wad up brand new t-shirts and throw them in there. Now push this thing in again, and again, I can't stress it enough. I want them snug in here. I want very, very little movement. This right here, you can kind of see it has a hole that's going through the body of the tube, and then another hole that goes through the lid. It used to have a clip or something. I don't even remember. It's been so long. But again, I took one of these twisters. I cut the end of it off, and I can just feed it through here like that. Twist her up. Let's go explore. That's it. You can hear there's very little movement in there. Those rods aren't beating around. This is totally airport proof. Again, carry handle here allows me when I gotta swing it through the check-in line or whatever, I can only have 4 feet sticking out of either side. But as I'm dragging this thing from the shuttle, the car, the boat, whatever, I've got the handle up here. I can lift it up and roll it. It's just a really good setup. I've carried everything in here from trout rods to big tuna rail rods. I've never had a rod break in this thing ever. Knock on concrete. It's just been a really good setup for me. It's taken me around the world and it's protected my craft. That's how I pack my rods to get ready for a trip. As a side note, with reels, a lot of guys will use a reel bag. I choose not to. I like to take my reels, I just put them in the factory reel skins or whatever, and I bury them in with my luggage. I pad them with my clothes, my socks, my skivs, whatever, and just make sure I've got them wedged in there solid. I zip them up. I use a TSA compliant lock on my bag, and that's always served me well. Again, knock on wood, I've never had any gear stolen, broken, anything. This is a really good setup. It's taken me around the world. Hope you enjoyed, learning a little bit about how I travel. You might have some better solutions. I'm all ears. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you travel with your gear or if you have any questions. Also, please hit the subscribe button. Give us a like. We really appreciate you watching this, and hopefully it helps you out on your next travel fishing trip.